when we look at what happened with the Capitol building, right? Trump supporters there, right? And yeah, Trump, it's his fault, right? It's 100% his fault. Like he was the one, like, he cited the violence that, and when I look at this and I see that now every Trump supporter is being labeled as someone that agrees with this. Really? Like, you think we really agree with that? Honestly, that it's a terrible tragedy that girl got shot. If you see the video, they're like, he's got a gun, he's got a gun, he's got a gun, he's got a gun. They said it 20 times. She's climbing through the window, trespassing, going in, and they don't know. Like, they're protecting. They don't know if they're going to kill the congressman or whatever. You're going to get shot. Like, I don't understand these people who trespass and loot. You know what I mean? There's got to be consequences for this to people be scared to do this, where they don't think they could just break into anything on both sides and burn any building. But to think any Trump supporter, and if you watch conservative stations, right, and you see clips of them, the first thing they say, we don't condone this. We don't condone violence and this, that. But, you could remember, and then they go into the but, like the disclaimer, which is said. So I guess I'll ask you, because we're talking about, it's being lumped in where, depending on what you watch, you have to be like, you have to be far right and far left almost, right? You can't be moderate anything these days. Yeah, but we're talking about 75 million people. Half the population believes that when we look at the voting process, that it's flawed and that it was cheated and faked. Yeah. And instead of saying, you guys are a bunch of idiots and have no idea what you're talking about, why don't we make sure and look into it? And why aren't we allowed to look into it? Why did Supreme Court justices, states and just say, no, we're good. Where, to me, it's, there's 75 million people. Like, don't you want to, that believe the process of flawed, and as the other 75 million people, they're absolutely delusional and crazy and soul losers. But, there are things that happen that day that are just kind of freaking weird, where you stop counting at 9:30 and then 3 a.m, all these votes come in. Why was it 300,000 votes driven from New York to one of the last reporting counties in Philadelphia? Why did this massive amount of votes take place? Like, when you woke, like, how come they weren't counted? It's the same fucking date every year, every 4 years, right? We know it. It's not like it comes up and, oh my God, we got to get all these. This is your job. Like, your job is to count and discount it. Don't stop like in the middle of this. But, there's thousands of people who, we're looking at affidavits that were signed that said that they believe that was flawed. And when you look at that, to me, I'm like, okay, let's investigate. If these guys are full of shit, but what's the reason? Why would you come out? If you're signing an affidavit, there's no upside. There's no upside, because if you're lying, you're going to go to jail, right? So, it's not like you're going to get rewarded by coming out or anything, or these guys are getting paid to come out. But why are we not looking at this process? Because in Florida, it was so freaking broken, Greg. It was so broken. Now I live in Florida. We called our state immediately because we went through the bullshit and we learned from it. And even me voting, like taking the voting form, making sure it's in, making sure, like, they did it to the book, going there, and everything was fine. Why is it different in every state? Why the fuck are we counting votes after the election? Why? Why would we count any votes after the election? Are you kidding me? Why can't we have, if it's military or whatever, or mail-in votes, come in a week earlier, 2 weeks earlier, but on that day they're freaking counted? Why are we counting 3-4 days? Like, why? Why is that happening? It happened once with the states, but, I think it's the one universal in this country is your vote. We all get a vote, no matter if you're rich, no matter if you're poor, if you're a citizen, you get a vote. And if, you think you can make changes with that vote, which, again, most of the time you can't, if you live in New York, California, and certain, Texas, most of the time it's, they're going to vote the way they want to vote. But that's a democratic process where we need to make sure that it's 100% secure, man. And just to really dismiss it and say, no, you guys are just crazy, that there's nothing. Let's see. If you find for it, do I think it was enough? No, I don't think it was enough. I think he lost. I think the mail-in votes, it was perfect. They did a great job, Democrats, of doing that. They're well ahead of the Republicans. But, if there really is fraud out there, to just dismiss it as, no, you're out of your mind, I think it's pretty crazy, no?
Yes, to dismiss it offhand is pretty crazy. I think there was enough going. There were enough challenges and hearings and Republican representatives, saying like, look, there's not enough evidence here to say like crazy, crazy fuckery happened. Did fuckery happen? Yes, I absolutely believe that. I think that happens in every election. But that's almost completely besides the point, right? It's what the real core of what you're saying is like, why are these people just being dismissed? And that's I think what bothers me about you know, I'm not a violent person. I like to box. I like watching fighting. I like watching boxing. So I'm not against violence, but in normal daily life, I'm not someone that's just going to fight someone. I'm not going to try to pick a fight with someone. I would never call for violence. Having said that, you had whether they were incited by the president or not, that's a very, very gray area. The one thing I will say about the people who were at that rally that might have pushed them further than they would have gone on their own. I didn't, and this is what I don't like about what happened in the last week or two of the Trump presidency. I think he lost like a bitch. Like he seems like a little freaking bitch. And when he's sitting there talking and he's saying, "We're gonna storm the Capitol. We're gonna walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and I'm gonna be there with you." When he says that, okay, and then he's not there. He's not there. So I could see where people might have gotten like, maybe not gotten pushed over the edge, are now sort of getting pushed over the edge because they're like, all right, this guy's with us. We're going to go down there. Yep. We're going to take this back. Be that as it may. It's a gray area. You can say you did it. You can say you didn't incite, whatever. It's a gray area. But what I will say is, what I hated the most on both sides, both legacy. I'm calling it legacy media now because media is dead.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Traditional media is dead.
I can't stand watching any media. Yeah. If you support your agenda or not, it's just not fair. I like fair. That's how I've been a research analyst all my life. Yeah. Is looking at both sides of the equation. Listen to someone who has a totally different opinion. It's going to make you smarter. And I agree. So
legacy media on both sides. Conservative and liberal. This is an outrage. This is so undemocratic. This is so un-American. What happened today was like, and was it tragic? Yes, it absolutely was tragic. People were injured. Someone died. Violence is never the right solution. I shouldn't say that actually, because I'm about to contradict myself. Violence is rarely the right solution, but you have to take it into context, because now what you just said, these people, a portion of the 75 million at least of the people who voted for Trump, really truly believed. They believe. Whether they're misinformed or not, like
even two more things really quick. Keep that thought. Misinformed or what? Keep that thought.
Okay.
Because I'm a believer in statistics, and again, no matter what side you're on, but President Trump received 11 million more votes in 2020 than he got in 2016. Right? That's 20%. And he still loses by 6 million votes to a candidate who had like 3 guys in a car, beeping like, "Hey, all right, we're going to save America. Beep, beep, yay." When you see these, 20, 30,000 people at these rallies, like he won 87% of all the counties across the nation, including, bellwether counties that he needed to capture. And he won Florida and Ohio. No president's ever lost that done that, right? So when you look at these it's worth asking, like, hey, why is that? What happened? Why did that happen? And I think the fact that we still, like, you're not allowed to ask that. You're really not allowed. If you are, people get you. What are you talking about? Stop being a soulless. I just, for the process, it's important for 75 million freaking people that really believe this, that, let's see, if you want unity, right? That's what you need. You need to say, okay, here's what happened. This is why it was legit. Here it is. You know what I mean? I just feel like, just say, no, we're not going to count. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. I don't know. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but just certain things.
No, I mean, it's an important point, and I think it's valid. I mean, And that's exactly, it goes right to the heart of the situation. There were enough people that honestly believed that their government was fucking them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can ask the Black Lives Matter people this, and they'll give you the same answer. Holding up a sign doesn't change anything. These people decided the government was fucking them. Their government was being stolen from them.
Mm-hmm.
The election was rigged. This president is illegitimate.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing more American than revolting against that process. Nothing more American than that. I don't want to hear someone tell me this is the violence is, this is so un-American, this is so undemocratic, this is not what this country, blah, blah, blah. This country was founded on violence. It was held together with violence. And the only changes that ever came that were of any significance in this country were through violence. So do I want to see violence? Do I want to see death and destruction? Absolutely not. Is it necessary for change? Sometimes, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Do I agree with what happened at the Capitol? Not necessarily, but that's not because I think it was wrong in and of itself. I think that the people who did that were misguided. And I think that they were led by someone who, at this point now, has no business. I'm sorry. He showed it to me. He showed his true colors as a leader. If you tell me, if I'm standing in front of you and you tell me you're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue with me and I get to the end of Pennsylvania Avenue and you're not with me, I'm not fucking fighting for you. Like, who are you? Like, where were you? So that bothers me. It bothers me that I feel like these people were misled. It does not bother me that there was violence. It does not bother me because, look, there is going to come a time, and it might have happened. This might have been a completely stolen election. I don't necessarily believe that. I don't actually believe that at all. But
do you believe that? So you truly believe that he incited this violence?
What I think,
and that's a big word, right? It's
no,
a big word.
What I think he
did. The narrative.
What I think he did is I think that these people are hardcore, right? They came.
So are the Democratic Party.
But they came in.
And Rise, right?
I'm talking about the people who came to Washington. This is another discussion. The National Guard got called to Washington a week or two before those guys even showed up. They knew shit could happen. Okay, so that's a whole nother discussion. What they were doing, I don't fucking know what they were doing.
I'm going to ask that too. I mean, we
okay, but before we get on that, these people came there because they believed in their heart of hearts, like, this is our last stand. Like, this is the country's being stolen from us.
Which is cool.
Which is cool. Yeah. They came there and they're like, the country's being stolen from us. Mm-hmm. What bothers me about what Trump did, and I'm not a lawyer, I can't say did he incite violence, whatever. I don't know if I would say, listening to his speech, I wouldn't necessarily say he incited violence, because you can say we're going to fight like hell. That could mean anything. Mm-hmm. Okay. What bothers me about what he said, and this is, I think, what could have led people who otherwise wouldn't have done something to do something, was he said, I'm going to be there with you. And when you say that as a leader, that's to people who are hardcore followers of you. Like, they follow you. They believe in you. They are fighting for you. They're not fighting for themselves. They're fighting for you. Like, they're fighting for you because you've been telling them for weeks that the country is getting stolen from them, that this election is rigged. And now you've just held a big rally and you've made this big speech. I'm going to go down there with you and we're going to fight like hell. And then you're not there. That's what I have the problem with. I think that was wrong. And I think he knew the whole time he was giving that speech, he had no intention of being anywhere near any of that. Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did say, you don't concede when there's theft involved. Our country's had enough. We're not taking it anymore. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. So, But my question is, if he incited this, right, which is being impeached, right, which I think is hilarious, which we'll go over in a second, right, with what was it, like a couple days left in his presidency, right? So we all know why they want to impeach him, right? Because they don't want him to run again, right? Because they don't know if there's 75 million people. Again, you're not really going to change a lot of people's mind. Maybe you did, and some people feel that way, and I think you might have changed minds just with this whole situation. But if he really incited this, which means you kind of saw it coming, right? I mean, it's if everyone, right? Oh, you decided you didn't say. Why were there so few people guarding the Capitol? Why were they able to breach this thing? Well, I mean, how come if the Democrats were like, he's inciting violence, this is going to happen? If you really believe that, why didn't you like quadruple the security? Why is the National Guard state? Like, that's what I mean. But now you're willing to impeach him. It's almost like the only way you could really impeach him is if you broke through that and went to the Capitol building, right? Then but if it was just a big riot and everybody pushed away, it would be a non-event, right? It'd just be like, it's just
where was the National Guard? Why wasn't there a line there? That's weird to me.
That is really weird. I have no idea.
Why wasn't there a line there? Because those guys, you can't blame it on the soldiers. I mean, they take orders from somebody.
Well, the cops, Jesus, people hate cops, man. It's amazing now the narrative flipped for cops now. I mean, it was defund the police. We don't want any police. Now you have AOC going out there. Oh, the police, look at them. The election's over, so the narrative changes now. But it's just did you see the videos? Did you see the video of that one cop going up the stairs and that guy just kept running after him and there's like 50 people behind him? What are you supposed to do? If he takes out a gun and shoots him, he's gone. He loses his job. He's probably going to jail, right? If not, then he's going to get killed. What is the option? Why would you become a cop right now? You cannot defend yourself. You know what used to happen? I'm going to tell you a funny story. My brother, when he was young, kind of wild when we were young, but he used to steal, remember the radios, the great radios in the car? We used to put them in. Right, so he went to, he was stealing radios in a parking lot one time, and then the bouncers caught him, brought him to the front of the club, and said, you got two choices. You call the cops, or we're going to beat the shit out of you. And he's like, well, if you call the cops, they're going to call my father. My father's going to beat the shit out of me. So they beat the shit out of him. Beat the shit out of him. And the cops were perfectly okay. There are cops there, right? Said, okay, you deserved it. And he was like, I deserved it. And he never did it again. That lesson gets lost. I'm not saying it incite violence, but when you go in and attack a police officer, when you go in and steal stuff in a store and punch someone in the face, to me, you deserve to get your fucking legs broken. And everyone should see it because, like you were saying before, when the violence part, you don't want to incite violence, but there has to be a fear there that if I do this, here's the consequences. And right now, the consequences when it's police is fight back. Doesn't matter if you have a warrant on your arrest. Try to grab his gun. If you get shot, you're a millionaire and you're a martyr, right? It's like, what is going on out there? What the hell is really going on out there where cops are the fucking enemy right now? Where are there bad apples? There's bad apples with what we do, right? There's bad apples. There's people that are robbing fucking people like Madoff and shit. You're going to have that across every single industry. There's bad cops. You punish them, you throw them in jail. Throw them in the general population so they get their ass kicked for forever. But I have a lot of friends that are cops. And you know what? They're all looking to get the fuck out. Why would you ever be a police? They're so disrespected and being the enemy on both sides. If you're looking at both sides of the riots, I know a lot of people forgot Antifa and how big those riots were and people dying and shit like that and everything burning. The cops in the middle of that couldn't do anything. They're like, people going up to him saying, I hope your kids die. I hope your kids die. Look this is a guy that's working. He's working. He's trying to protect, right? And now when you look at the other side with Trump supporters and you see those cops in there, same thing. I mean, these guys on both sides are kind of being hated right now. And I'm like, holy shit, what is going on? Like, imagine if there was, what we should do? Honestly, Greg, I mean this. Everyone who says that we should defund the police, they should have a list, right? The cops should have a list of these names. And when they fucking call you, when they're robbing their house and they get beat or whatever, and they call you and your name comes up on a list, say, hey, sorry. You want to defund the police, man? We ain't coming. Let them get the shit kicked out of them. Let them get robbed. You didn't want cops. This is a world without cops, right? I would love to see that. I really would love to see that. What was it? Who's the lady in Chicago? Oh my God. Where she was like, cops, defund the police, defund the police. And then they started attacking and she's got all these, Secret Service and cops around her protecting her. Really? And you want to defund the police? But I really believe that, man. I think that if you really want to defund the police, if something happens to you, you don't have the right to call the police. And I wish that was the case. It's never the case. But to me, that's something that's personal to me that, yes, there's bad apples. Yes, the guy who choked, should go to jail, which again, it really shed light on a lot of stuff. But, to just go where we're going with this, man, to really destroy every cop, to make sure that every person coming up is not going to be a cop, because the pay is bad in most areas, right? Especially in cities. Why would you be a cop for? You can't defend yourself. You have a family. These people have families. Like they're to serve and protect. You're not allowed to protect anymore.